What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Everyone, welcome to another edition of the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
I'm Tom, the OG Fit Kid, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
And a returning guest, no stranger to the Tavern. We have Battle from the Battleground Podcast. How's it going, man?
It is going great, guys. Thanks for having me back on the show. And by the way, if you're listening to this right now, please give these guys a 5-star review, like, comment. And if you watch it on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Do everything. Give them 5 stars and like them. That's all I'm asking you to do. Please.
And if you do it for us, do it for Battleground too.
Exactly.
That's
Go in
you
there,
know?
find it.
And you'll get free stickers and be entered in a contest if you send us a screen capture of it.
Ooh, I like stickers.
Free stickers.
Free. I like free too.
Free's the best, man. You
Yeah,
can't beat
man.
that.
It's nice, but free's my price.
What's
There
been
you
going on at the Battleground Podcast, man? You guys have been having some killer guests on there.
Man, I appreciate that. So we've been doing a lot of great stuff here recently. We've just got Rocky Romero on the show. Coming up soon, I believe we're waiting on confirmation, but I believe we're going to have Medusa coming up. Just having fun, hanging out, talking to wrestlers. And that's kind of pretty much it, really.
That's what
The
it's
good
all
life.
about, man.
The good life.
That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Well, we'll get right to the task at hand. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
let's
you
jump
know the
in.
format, so I
Yeah.
think we're ready to get into it. You guys, Tom, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
He's got a little lag, but he's ready.
He's
got
Uh-oh.
a thing to do, but
I don't know what's going on over here.
What'd you say, Tom? I'm just
Said
kidding.
I don't know what's going on.
All right, guys, we'll get into it. Our first topic of the evening. Has AEW's existence hurt or helped Impact Wrestling?
this is a tricky question.
It's
to me,
tough. It is tough.
because
Very
I think
tough.
it's a neck and neck 50-50 split for me. Because I think AEW really brought some eyes to them when they, with the Forbidden Door and all of the work they did together and all of that. I think that was, the numbers, if you believe the dirt sheets, they did see increase when Omega was holding that title and they were having those matches. But on the reverse side of that, when AEW entered the fold of American promotions, top tier national promotions, it did. If you look at the pecking order, obviously WWE at the top, it bumped Impact down. Impact was kind of that promotion that was right below WWE. And I feel like AEW knocked them down a notch.
Are they still getting the same amount of viewers? Because AEW is on a different level as far as budget and spending, and on TNT, soon to be TBS. You got to search to find Impact now. It's not easy to find if you don't know where it is. I think that's hurt them. I think it helped them more than it hurt them. Having Kenny Omega bring eyes to them is always a plus. Anytime you get more eyes, it's a plus. Now, whether you keep them or not, that's on them. Like,
Yeah,
you
that
can
is-
only do so much. One person could only do so much, or a couple of people could only do so much. So I think it definitely helped them. But I mean, I don't think they really cashed in on it. I don't think they maximized what they should have done with it.
No. And, I sit here and look at it and it's like, when Omega came in, like they were on Twitch and their numbers, you'd see everybody watching it. It shows the viewers on Twitch. Now, I can't tell you what channel Access TV's on. Like if you said, hey, go to Access TV, I would probably have to do because we have Xfinity, I would have to probably do the voice remote and be like, Access TV. But, you kind of saw a little bit of it drop off, and it seemed like it was just kind of like, these AEW guys were going over to Impact, but none of the Impact guys were going to AEW other than the Good Brothers. You saw Moose show up, Sammy did his thing, but it wasn't like a full-on AEW coming over to Impact going over to AEW television. It seemed like it benefited more AEW than anything because it just gave, them to give Kenny another belt. While granted, Impact was on like cable TV and national TV is in the spotlight. But I mean, Bully Ray said it best when Kenny Omega showed up. He wasn't having that Impact belt anywhere. It was just there.
Yeah.
You forgot the most valuable thing that AEW got out of this, and that's Don Callis.
They did get Don Callis, and that's the good thing about that. But it's like, I go back to when we were setting up interviews with Impact Wrestling, and they were like, they asked us, who do we want to talk to? And I was like, well, we want to talk to your Impact Wrestling champion. And at the time, it was Christian Cage. Well, we can't do that because he's kind of with them and not with us, and he's the champion. So it's like, it's good that Impact was getting that brand out there, because for a while, Impact wasn't talked about. And I think another thing that did kind of hurt them was once the whole AEW partnership ended in a way, they went off of Twitch.
Yeah, that hurt. And I think that it would have, you bringing up that the wrestlers, the Impact guys weren't showing up on Dynamite. That to me was huge. Now I think Impact did benefit from it because AEW sending their champion there and bringing new eyes. But I definitely agree with you too, Battle, that if you have your talent showing up on a much larger stage on TNT, that's better than just having your belt show up.
For sure.
That's a great point.
Yeah, well,
Because
we fantasy booked a lot where we had Sami Callihan coming over.
I thought we were going to get a Sami Callihan Mox match.
Yeah.
Maybe, something.
And that's what we all thought. And you saw before Sammy broke his leg, like we were gonna get Sammy and Mox together at Sammy's promotion.
Right.
But like you kind of thought that was gonna happen. Like, okay, the Good Brothers are showing up. Well, why can't Trey Miguel show up with the X Division title and be like, hey, because there was that whole talks of Sammy wanted the X Division title. I mean, Trey Miguel and Sammy Guevara would have been a hell of a match.
Deanna and Britt.
Exactly. And when we had Deanna in studio and we talked to her about it, it was like, hey, what do you think? And she's like, I want to play. Like, I want to go over there and defend my title on there, and she can come over here. Like, let's make it happen. And it seems like, Scott D'Amore's kind of pulling the strings over there, but it did get Impact's name on there, but it was just the belt. Like, people saw Kenny Omega. You didn't associate Kenny Omega as the Impact champion. You associated him as the AEW champion. Like, you didn't even associate him as the AAA champion.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think AEW's existence helped them. I think that definitely helped them. I think they hurt themselves by not capitalizing on what they did. But and like you had mentioned, Battle, going off of Twitch afterwards. Like, I think that is what hurt them.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I think you have to pay to watch it on YouTube now, I believe.
I think so. Yeah. I think they put it behind a paywall.
And I have access. I record their stuff. And there's a lot of factors that made them, and it's stuff that's kind of out of their control, of maybe their visibility being lower than AEW during the pandemic. I think that was just a safety issue, a protocol issue where, those, before they started pumping in that crowd noise, some of those Impact shows,
they were hard to watch.
They were hard to watch when, AEW had the wrestlers ringside, and then WWE's doing the Thunderdome thing, and then there was just no soul. And then finally they started pumping in crowd noise, which elevated it a little bit. But I think them taking a little more time to get around to bringing the live fans in kind of stepped them back, because when Kenny's going over there with the belt, and you have fans that maybe don't watch Impact tuning in because Kenny's there, and then they see that show, maybe that doesn't grab them to stay there.
Yeah.
But I like the product they're putting out, and I think AEW being around I think it helps helps them, but it's not just AEW helping them. I think the fact that AEW exists is helping the entire industry be more healthy. There's more wrestling out there. I think it elevates everyone, all the options we have. And I think the boon of free agents out there right now we're going to see them start trickling into all of these promotions, the NWAs, the Impacts, the MLWs, those type of places are hopefully going to get a windfall of new, fresh talent to bolster their rosters. Hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw a quote today, somebody, and I forget who it was or what but it said that there's so much talent out there that's been released that if somebody had the bankroll to do it, there could be another third viable company if somebody could bankroll it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you look at it and they've released over 100 people within a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say somebody said like 180 in the last 2 years, something like that.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. And it's like, and we talked about this the last time I was on. It's like, you don't want to see AEW signing up every single person that gets released.
Right.
No.
But like you just said, you're going to see the indies thrive over the next several months with all this influx of talent just coming in.
And I think stuff like that is going to help the industry overall.
Yeah.
100% it will. It's going to be interesting over the next year to see where people go and what WWE does. Do they continue just letting people go? It doesn't seem like they're stopping.
Mm-mm.
So,
well, before the pandemic, the indies were the hottest that they've ever been, and now with this influx of talent, I think it's going to get them right back there. Now that
GCW, with GCW making a name for themselves, it's fun time to be an indie fan.
It's huge, yeah.
I think this all the free agents on the board right now. Because if you've watched the way AEW has really maneuvered the free agent market, they've been very selective. Okay, we like these 2 or 3 guys out of this batch of 20 that just got released. But I think we might be entering in the next year an independent wrestling golden age, the likes of which we've never seen before.
Yeah.
I think there's a possibility that the GCWs of the world, even like the Black Label Pros and the Beyond Wrestlings and these type of organizations everyone's going to elevate their shows. GCW honestly could become a major player if ROH doesn't come back and that void is left. I wouldn't be surprised if GCW steps up into that vacancy that ROH is leaving.
I think that's the best bet for them.
And that's a whole nother thing. It's going to be interesting to see where all the Ring of Honor talent goes.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother crop of free agents out there now that.
Well, you've got an ROH tag team that's holding GCW tag titles right now in the Briscoes.
And they're defending those titles on an ROH show.
Yeah.
Yep. Weren't they backstage at AEW also?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of interesting moving parts.
Jay Lethal's there in AEW now.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen because it's like you see ROH not doing anything until after the first quarter, and we could talk about this on a different episode, but it's like you look at what happened with NWA after they kind of closed shop during the pandemic. It was hard for them to get back to where they were. There's still some things where you look at it and you're like, it's not what it was before.
It isn't, man. It's a bummer.
I think that's
I
think that's what's going to happen with ROH. And as much as I love the guys and the girls there, and we work really close with a lot of them, if they don't do anything and they just say, you know what, we're just going to run reruns, we're going to go through the library, we're just going to do this, it's going to be very hard for them to get back to at least where they were, a couple months back.
I agree, man. I think the true casualty of the pandemic for me has been NWA. Yeah. That company going into the pandemic, that was my favorite hour of pro wrestling. The NWA Power was, you're talking about Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston. Their roster was loaded and they were doing such good stuff. And when they went away, man, they still, I still try to tune in, but they haven't found their footing yet.
No, and it's been a tough thing for them because, like, when they closed up shop, I mean, you had Zicky on there. And I mean, when they closed up shop, they kind of started doing the like side Carneyland, please still kind of pay for the stuff to watch these videos that we just randomly put out. And it's kind of been tough because it's like, when you sit back and watch it, it's like, okay, well, who's the guy that's going to finally take it off of Nick Aldis? And it was Trevor Murdoch.
Right.
And for us diehard wrestling fans, that was a great story for them. But if it's somebody coming into new to the NWA, they're going to be like, who's Trevor Murdoch?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you look at it for next week when they do the NWA pay-per-view, it's Trevor Murdoch versus Mike Knox.
Right.
And you're like, if you didn't know Mike Knox from WWE and Aces and Eights, you have no idea.
Right.
And that's the tough thing.
I feel like they've got great wrestlers on their show, but they almost took themselves out. They weren't active in this free agency because there's still a lot of guys out there just hanging out. And I'm like, yeah, bolster that roster, man. Like you have to bolster your roster. It was cool when they signed Kylie Ray. Like we talked to Billy Corgan about that, right before the last tapings and, getting that. But I think like what kind of hurt their women division was when Thunder Rosa bounced. Like when AEW bought her contract out, like I knew that they were trying to keep her on as long as they could. But I mean, there was just it's tough for the NWA to compete with all like the billionaires. Yeah. So true. So true. And I mean, Billy's a rock star and he's got money, but I mean, Tony Khan and Vince McMahon, he doesn't have that money.
That's different. That's different money.
Millions versus billions.
Money. Yeah, the long money.
Yeah. All right, guys. Any final things before we wrap this topic up? We'll move on.
Let's do it.
You guys ready? All right. So the next topic of the evening, now, Battle, this is the topic that you had brought to the table. And we've talked a little bit about these guys just a little bit ago. But if the Elite never left, would ROH be as strong as AEW is now?
So I really think that ROH would be thriving. Now, would they be like AEW thriving? Probably not. But I think that ROH would still be a talked about promotion. I mean, if the Elite, you look at when the Elite left, I mean, that roster just kind of like diminished because they pretty much took everybody with them.
Took the life out of them.
Yeah.
And you go back and look, and we've had these conversations with several people from AEW and ROH. It's like you go back and look, and you think back to All In. Like ROH was the ones that footed the bill. ROH helped them do the show. ROH did pretty much everything. Like when you look at buying the ROH library tapes, All In is in those tapes.
Yep,
it's not AEW.
Wow.
So you look at how they did, All In. And if ROH would have just continued doing that, I mean, you look at it now and it could be a different landscape.
I think two things hurt ROH to where they're at now. We've kind of seen like a steady, there was a couple things, the Elite leaving, and them not putting the belt on Marty Scurll. Now I know Marty has had issues, but when they decided to put that belt on Matt Taven, the crowd wanted Marty, and Marty was the Elite. Marty was the Elite, and I've heard Bully Ray talk about he begged the decision makers to put that belt on Marty, and they decided not to. And I think that was something. It was one of those moments where the fans. It would be like AEW not putting the belt on Hangman. Yeah, the fans wanted that. But I think ROH would be 100% still around. They wouldn't have closed shop until the new year if the Elite were still there. And I think they would probably be much more elevated, but they would not be on the level of AEW. And I Sinclair does not get behind that company. With or without the Bucks there, they were never behind that company like Tony Khan is behind AEW.
Exactly. And here's the thing is like, I went to ROH shows when the Elite was there, when Cody, the Bucks, all that stuff. And there's an arena in Nashville that they usually do, and I'm pulling it up right now of how many seats are in this venue. So it's Municipal Auditorium, and it's a capacity of 9,700 people there, right? So I went to an ROH show, and it was the Bucks, it was Hangman, it was Cody, because that was the first ROH show in Nashville that I did was the very first episode ever of the Battleground podcast. And at the time, it was with Hangman Adam Page when he was the 6-man tag team champions. And so we went to that arena. It was packed. Once the Elite left and they came back, they moved to a very smaller venue. They moved to the fairgrounds. Not very many people were there. They tried to redo it again at Municipal Auditorium, the 9,700 event arena. They had to bring in black curtains to tarp off everything to make it look like it was a full capacity.
Wow.
And this was like right before the pandemic. So this was in 2020. Right before everything shut down, because we went to a New Japan show and then we went to Ring of Honor because it was the Nashville show, because the next night was in St. Louis, and that was when Roosh won the ROH title.
Wow.
Because they were getting ready to set up the ROH and NWA thing because Nick Aldis came out.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree too with Chad that and you as well, Battle. It's just I don't think they just would not be on AEW's level. They'd be bigger, but you got to have that Tony Khan pushing it. Tony's a fan. Tony's a fan, and he knows, he's pushing this product that he loves, and I just don't feel like they would have done that with ROH.
Yeah, Sinclair's a broadcasting company.
Yeah,
and they don't even have a concrete weekly.
Well, see, and that's
the biggest thing. You never know where ROH is. It's like, is it midnight, 12:30? That hurts you.
It was never it was never a set time. Like here in Nashville, we've got Fox, we've got CW 15, and My TV 30 or whatever. So 3 Sinclair stations. I couldn't tell you what time ROH aired.
Well, the thing that really like soured me on that whole deal, I would pull my DVR up, I would search Ring of Honor, I would do record new episodes. Okay. I would have all these episodes of Ring of Honor in my DVR, and I'd go back, I'd choose one, I would click on it, and it would be like some basketball game playing. Like, so it wasn't even what, you would see it on your thing. Like, okay, I'm going to record that. And it's not even ROH. It's something else.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like too, when it would air, when you'd see it, it wouldn't even be in order. It would be old episodes, or
you
wouldn't know,
follow the story.
There was no story to follow.
No. Yeah. So then you'd have to just kind of try to stay up watching it on YouTube.
Right.
And I remember we were at a bar here in Nashville, and it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and the intro for Ring of Honor kicked on, and I was like, Ring of Honor's on at 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay. There's a reason why nobody's watching it.
Yeah. And plus Ring of Honor, the supporting cast AEW has, it's not just the Elite. Like the whole roster is amazing. Every story is like something good. Everything they're doing is just amazing on AEW right now. Plus, like I said, the national TV contract, it's so easy to find them. They have eyes on them. I don't think that they would have elevated it that far.
Yeah.
With just the Bucks. Well, I mean, ROH's roster is pretty solid. I think it's really the exposure, in my opinion, that hurts them. But I guess to go back to the topic, if the Elite never left, do you think their popularity and their elevation of the product would have forced Sinclair's hand to possibly venture into live weekly wrestling, where they would have had a live show on a national stage? I don't know, man. I don't know if it would. To me, Sinclair seems like, okay, this is some content we have to fill some spots, but they're not wrestling people. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not going to roll the dice on that.
Ted Turner.
Ted Turner was a fan.
Yeah.
And some people could say like, oh yeah, Sinclair, they're running, SmackDown on Friday nights, but that's SmackDown on Fox. Like, Everybody gets that. And I, working in radio, I know that there's like promotional stuff you could do. And every now and then you'd watch SmackDown on Fox here in Nashville, and there would be a Ring of Honor commercial that runs through it as like, watch Ring of Honor Saturday night on Fox, whatever. But it never told the time.
Right.
It would just be like, watch Ring of Honor. And it would be like old clips, or, if I tried to watch it, like you guys said, it was out of order. It'd be like, this Saturday, blah, blah, blah. And we would get told, like, when we'd have Ring of Honor guys on, ROH would be like, hey, here's so-and-so. They've got a match this Saturday. Here's what it's going to do. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Make sure you hit that. And we'd hit it, and then we'd watch on Saturday, and that match would never even show.
Not even what they.
So then I'd be like, that's not us.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so do you think the Elite, if they would have stayed, would they have had the popularity, or did they need to leave to gain the popularity that they have now?
I mean,
it would have been as popular if they stayed?
I think they would have been as popular as they stayed, because like I said, when I was there and it was the Elite minus Kenny, like that arena was packed. There was so many Buck shirts. There was Hangman shirts. There's all the Bullet Club shirts. And you think about it, and it's like, them staying there, that would have, I probably would have given it like 2 or 3 more years if AEW didn't happen. And they could have probably been that second tier show, not like how AEW is now, but they could have been that second tier show above Impact, where they could be like, okay, maybe we started that Forbidden Door kind of thing.
Yeah, I think they could have elevated the product by staying there for sure. And I think they would have been popular, because AEW's entire formula to make them successful so quick in the beginning, to me, it was a 3-headed monster. It was the Elite, it was Tony Khan, and it was Chris Jericho. The acquisition of Chris Jericho to bring in those casual fans and be like, holy shit, they got Jericho. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a guy with money who loves pro wrestling, who's young and hip to the kind of the pulse of that fan. And then you've got a stable of guys who were massive with the Bullet Club, massive with Being the Elite as a show. That whole Being the Elite Bullet Club movement, that's what piqued Tony's interest. He's like, holy shit, they've got stuff going on. So there's something here. And then All In just kind of set the stage like, okay, we could do something with this. So I think the Bucks, like you said, Battle, I think it would have taken longer. They never would have reached the heights that AEW is at right now so quickly. But I think they could have surpassed Impact as a number 2 promotion in ROH.
And maybe if they would have met Tony, maybe Tony could have bought ROH instead of creating AEW and been like, hey, look, I'm going to step in, foot the bill. Let's go.
Very true. Very true.
I never even thought about that possibility. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony's got the money. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't bought Impact yet.
I've been thinking the same thing. I really thought when the rumor was on the table that ROH's library was up for grabs, I'm like, if he doesn't grab that, because the one All In, obviously, but all the guys he has, the Punks, the Danielsons, that he would have this back catalog of footage.
Yeah. And
you're bolstering. They've said, I think Tony Schiavone said that he had heard 2023 for a possible streaming service of AEW. You have ROH's library. That is what was one of the big acquisitions for the network to be created? It was all of these libraries that Vince scooped. For sure. Up. WCW, all the Mid-South shit, all of these old little territory factions. So for him to go in and buy up ROH, or if he bought up Impact's dude, if Tony Khan buys ROH's library and Impact Wrestling's library, talk about a streaming service, man.
And he builds the app. Like, that was something that, we had talked to QT about it, and now he's not going to tell us anything. But like, if Tony buys the ROH thing, and he goes after and says, hey, look, I'm going to buy Impact, because Impact, and I don't know if Impact and Jeff Jarrett and all that stuff is still going on and whatnot. But, I mean, that gives him his streaming platform. You go back in and you air all the old episodes of AEW Dynamite. You can catch up on stuff. You can do like how ROH did the best of blah, blah, blah. So you could show best of CM Punk, best of Daniel Bryanson. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So you could build the network that way.
Yeah, the other thing we're not mentioning is Cody. What if Cody decided to push Ring of Honor? He was very instrumental in All In, and wasn't it a challenge that made him decide to do it and say he could sell it out?
Oh yeah,
Wasn't
it was
he
Dave
there for
Meltzer.
that? So if he wanted to make Ring of Honor, maybe he would have gotten Tony involved back then. You never know. Cody, he built the bank,
Oh,
So,
bringing in Tony Khan into an ROH element is a whole different animal.
yeah.
I'm talking if it was just the elite under ROH's ownership, I think that's different. But if Tony
But you
would
have to-
eventually come in and put that money behind ROH, hey,
Well, who knows what Cody would have done, even if it didn't involve Tony. He would have been looking for backers. I could see him, he has a great mind. Nobody gives him enough credit for what he does behind the scenes. What a mind that guy has to try and build things. And
yeah.
And Cody's smart. He knows what he's doing. He comes from that lineage of wrestlers, so he knows.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been around it his entire life, and he's a Rhodes. So,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Talk about bleeding wrestling.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you ready to move on to our final topic
Let's do it.
of the evening? Let's go. All right. Final topic of the evening. Will The Rock main event next year's WrestleMania?
No.
No.
Yes.
Absolutely not. This coming one? No. He's waiting for LA. I think they're holding him off for LA, which is going to seem
They're
like
teasing
forever.
him, man. They're teasing him.
That stupid egg.
That damn egg was a tease.
Yeah.
I mean, they teased him the whole Survivor Series show, and then nothing, no payoff, not
What if
even
they're
like
playing the
a
long
video.
Nothing.
I mean, I don't even trust them enough that they're doing that. They're
and
so
Sean Ross
pathetic.
Sapp said it best. Like, The Rock did more for Impact Wrestling than he did for WWE.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Which is,
I mean,
it's true.
Yeah.
it is true. I think he shows up in Hollywood. I don't think we're going to see him this year. Maybe he shows up at this year's Mania to show up to make the challenge for next year's Mania.
Plant the seed like he did with like the Cena thing.
Yes.
I mean, I can see that happening. I really think that he shows up this year because, I mean,
I hope so.
I think he at least tries to challenge that because I'm sure there's going to be some movie that The Rock's got to promote coming around WrestleMania time. So it's going to sponsor WrestleMania in Dallas. And so I guess the tough thing is like, you got to find somebody to face Roman at WrestleMania because let's be honest, Roman's not dropping that title anytime soon. He didn't drop to Lesnar. And
Big E.
He didn't. Yeah, he pinned Big E. And, didn't beat Drew. Like, there's nobody that's going to be able to beat Roman unless you go ahead and start this storyline of the bloodline and blah, 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 blah. And Rock comes back, beats him at, Mania in Dallas. And then that sets up for, Hollywood. And then he could kind of do his thing there in Hollywood. And it's like, The Rock is the bloodline and gives Roman a year to be like a super, even more badass than he already is. And then Roman beats Rock in his hometown, in Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't even know how much Rock wants to even wrestle. I would assume he's going to be 50 years old, not by next WrestleMania, not by this coming one.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
I would torque him up the last match. All the injuries. I don't think he wants a chance hurting his acting career anymore and not being able to make a couple of movies. So if he comes, I don't even think he's going to beat Roman. I think it's going to be one match. He's going to lose and he's going to be out again.
I'm going to do some of my fantasy booking here.
This is always good.
What I think is going to happen. I think Rock 100% wants to wrestle again. I'm not saying full time, but the last match he had was the Cena match, and he got hurt in that match. He didn't. He suffered an injury. I think this is typically WWE's booking lately has been dog shit with a lot of things. But when they really set down and try, if Vince really wants to set a long-term plan in motion, he can do it. He can do it when he wants to. The Roman thing has been expertly done. So I think with a lot of these releases, and this egg. He knows that if you bring this egg up, some people say, oh no, it's just building the Red Notice. We're just promoting that. You're promoting that for The Rock as kind of a bartering chip. I think this is all part of a bigger deal to get The Rock in. I think we get The Rock at Mania 38 in Dallas. He main events against Roman, because in July he has the DC Comics huge summer blockbuster movie, Black Adam. You have Black Adam tied in somehow because Mania's close, within a couple months shot of this film gearing up for marketing. And I think we could see a rematch. I don't think Rock will win. I think Roman, this is the coronation of Roman for The Rock to let him really be the head of the table. But I also wouldn't put it past them to pull some sort of rematch type of situation like they did with Cena, where Dallas, it happens, and then we come back a year later in Los Angeles, where The Rock lives, and do it again.
Yeah.
This dude, you have 2 nights at Dallas, at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, AT&T Stadium. That place is over 100,000 people, 2 nights in a row. They don't have anyone on that roster right now that's going to sell that place out 2 nights in a row. You can put Becky and Charlotte together again. You can do all of that. They need The Rock. They have to have The Rock. I feel like they need something to generate. I think we're going to see The Undertaker involved somehow. I don't know if it'll be a match, but I think he's going to be involved in Mania.
Not. It's not a match.
I know. I think
please not.
You're gonna see Austin come out and do a stunner. You can't have a show in
Austin
Dallas
will be
without
there.
Austin.
I think
Austin will wind up hosting it or something.
That's what I was going to say. I think Austin could host Mania this year.
Maybe it's him and Undertaker hosted.
Yeah.
I'd much rather see Undertaker and Austin host it than Undertaker try to come out and do a Tombstone Pile Driver.
Yeah, don't put him in a match.
I think it's very easy to say, WWE, their booking sucks right now. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do. I'm like, they got to do something. Yeah, they got to do something with The Rock.
Can't just sit there.
All of this Roman shit and the head of the table and the family lineage, like, dude, you have to pull the trigger on that. And to pull the trigger on that Roman Reigns family lineage story, the end game is The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do not get to that end game, in my opinion, all of this Roman Reigns head of the table family lineage shit was all for nothing. You have to get to The Rock.
I agree. I hope I just don't think it's going to be this year. I hope so. What if he was a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble?
See, I was getting ready to say the same thing. I think
I'd blow the roof off the place.
Yeah, that was going to be my next time. My next point was, I think The Rock, because I do think that I think it will be him and Roman at WrestleMania this year, and I do think that he will come out and he will win the Royal Rumble.
I would pop for that, man.
Yep.
You know what would be cool is if they have Brock come in at number 29 and looks like he's going to win it, and then The Rock comes out at number 30.
That'd be crazy, but yeah.
That would be good.
I think a three-headed main event for me. Charlotte, Becky, really amp up that animosity. Big E, Brock, and Rock Roman. I'd love that.
I think it's going to happen. I honestly, and to your point, Chad, I think too, with it being in Dallas with 100,000 people, you got to do something.
You got to do something, man. Drew McIntyre against Roman isn't going to sell out 2 nights at Texas.
You need to sell 200,000 tickets in 2 nights.
Seth Rollins versus his attacker. Is that going to happen? I don't think so.
Oh, poor guy though. I do feel bad for that guy because I looked more into the story and it's like he got catfished by a guy with Seth Rollins, and I'm like, bro, first of all, Seth Rollins is not going to be asking you for $500 in gift cards, and
which tells me that not all the marbles were upstairs. So.
Yeah,
exactly.
And he did and I read this earlier. I think he did like an interview with the New York Daily, and it was like, he said, yeah, like I was there because he scammed me out of money. And then I realized I was catfished, and Becky, I think, blocked him on Twitter. And then eventually he's like, I was there to help Finn Balor out. And that's what I did. I managed to spear him and bust his lip open. And I was like, bro, there's got to be a few things loose up there.
Oh,
Especially watching him walk up the stairs. I was like, something's wrong.
Well, he cut a promo on Instagram too. Did you see his promo?
Yes, and it's like the bloodline and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I did not see that.
And I hate to like disappoint the guy, but Seth's lip was bleeding from the match. You saw it way before he got hit.
Wrestling's still real to me, damn it. Don't do that.
Don't discredit the guy, Tom.
He's lucky that wasn't Macho Man or Triple H because they would have laid the boots to his ass.
Michael Hayes wanted to get at him. You saw him standing in the shadows.
Oh man,
that Macho Man, when watching him kick the shit out of the fan.
Oh dude, man. Once you enter those ropes or step over that guardrail, it's on.
Oh yeah,
you are donezo.
My favorite thing to come out of that entire situation was the pictures of Michael Hayes' silhouette standing with his fanny pack on at the entrance.
It's like, bro, come on, man.
Who wears a fanny pack on Bad Street, USA? Come on,
man.
Wearing all white with a black fanny pack.
Oh yeah,
bro.
What are you doing?
Classic Michael Hayes, man.
So Tom, you don't think The Rock's going to main event, and then the rest of us think he will? Is that what
I think that's going to wind up being Brock against Roman again for this WrestleMania?
I don't think so, man. I really
don't. I hope you're right. I want to be wrong.
Tom's even more jaded than we are on WWE now. We're pretty fucking jaded.
I'm trying to be optimistic that they'll do. I'm trying to be optimistic that with 100,000.
It's your fault, guys. You did this to me.
We've turned him into a monster.
Well, anybody have any final points before we wrap it up?
Nope.
I think that's it.
All right. Battle, tell everybody where they can find you guys.
Yeah, so you can find me. I'm on Twitter, Instagram at Battle on Air. If you want to follow the show, Battleground Podcast on Instagram. We're on Twitter, Battleground IHR. And you can just find all things Battleground Podcast, battlegroundpodcast.com, and find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
And definitely go check them out, guys. Some of my favorite interviews in the game. So
thank you. I really do appreciate that, guys.
Interviews. And I love and thanks for including us by adding our questions in too, man.
Of course, we're all a family in this wrestling podcast game. So,
I mean, you're a 2-time guest and gonna be a third. So,
and we got to do a live pre-show. I know we said this last time and things got crazy, but we got to do a show together on our podcast. Maybe do a live show. Maybe do like a Twitch thing.
Just let us know,
going on.
Yeah, let us
do
know.
It.
We're wide open over here, man. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap us up for the evening. Make sure you guys are tuning in. Follow Battleground Podcast. Tom, get your stuff in before we leave. I know you got
Turnbuckle
sessions.
Turnbuckle sessions every Wednesday. The OG Fit Kid, Twitter and Instagram. Give me a follow. You find all things. Go to the turnbuckletavern.com. Get all of our links.
And we're going to get your frame rate fixed too.
Yes. Maybe I'll just stay like this
forever.
Court is dismissed.